West Coast Fisheries managers recently voted to cancel all commercial salmon fishing off the Oregon, Washington, and California coasts, leaving commercial fishermen wondering how they'll make a living this year, and leaving restaurants wondering what will they serve to the tourists who expect to order salmon when they visit Oregon. The 3 states have already signed documents requesting disaster relief, but will it be enough? Mike, can we have some of your salmon that you caught the other day? Since the commercial,
see the picture?
The commercial fishermen
No,
can't catch salmon for us.
It's already 2 feet
We're
longer.
gonna all go to Mike's house to eat the giant salmon that he caught. So
yeah, I've got a picture of the giant salmon here. It's if you come in close, you'll see that. Here we are. You'll see, yeah, there's me Sunday on the Willamette. I won't say exactly where. If you look closely, you can see that part of that fish's tail fin is missing. I snatched this out of the jaws of a sea lion, brought it home to my family due to the rising costs of food. But no, they're not doing enough. And part of the reason is our own purity. There was a lot of angst about maintaining pure fish lines and keeping all the wild salmon fish lines intact. We built hundreds of hatcheries in the Northwest in the past half a century to deal with the declining salmon runs, largely due to dams, but also due to international competition for the fish, the sea lions, and the commercial fishing. We have discounted the value of commercial hatchery-raised fish, and it's coming back to bite us because we have the means in place to maintain these salmon runs, but in some people's minds they're not pure enough, and therefore they're being discarded and abandoned.
All right, and part of it is the state will not look at how much is a fish worth. Now, the fish you had there,
$600, $30 a pound, 20 pounds.
Yeah, I'm convinced that a fish caught by a sportsman has a greater economic effect than a fish that's caught by a gill netter, who does that 45 days out of the year and uses write-offs against his regular job. There was a bill, I think in '87, to get the gill nets out of the Columbia River. And of course the argument was, well, if Oregon does it, what if Washington doesn't, and what about the Indians and everything? But if we didn't have gill nets in the Columbia River, and we told the Indians, you're free to catch as many fish as you want, but you can't use a gill net. You can use a line. There's different things they can do to make a living at it and have their ceremonial stuff. But I'm convinced that somebody's going to hold up a picture one day and say, yeah, this was the last fish that was caught in the Willamette River. And I mean, they're going to come down and fight over it, and there's less and less virtually every year. Now, they occasionally get a good run. But
you're fighting biology here because in addition to all the stuff that we've said, you've also got water for irrigation, which is reducing the river level, and that decreases the oxygen in the water and a variety. So you're fighting not only the commercial side of things, but just the biological side also. The governor wants to put $500,000 into a emergency fund for the Oregon coastal communities. Well, unfortunately, $500,000 is like a drop in the bucket.
That's nothing. Are you
not
kidding?
even a drop
That's
in the
all.
Well,
oh, wow.
It depends on how small your bucket is. Let's start
Wow.
that
These
way.
are big buckets we're talking about.
Okay.
Pacific is
So
a
the fisheries along the Oregon coast, and I'm not even talking about the California or Washington, are going to be impacted quite severely because not only is it the commercial fisheries, but it's also the tourist folks who come in from flying from New York to catch a salmon, and they go to Warrenton to get on a charter boat for $300 or $400 a pop, and then go out and catch that salmon. So I think that the coastal communities are really in trouble. And there needs to be more than $500,000 thrown their way to do something.
Well, the real issue, because we argue about the rivers and the dam system, and it's such a tiny percentage of where these fish are actually being taken. And we talked about this before the show. You have, most of the viewers today have no idea that there are giant fishing trawlers that look basically like oil tankers that come over from Japan and from Russia, and there are some Canadian ones as well. And they sit out there off the coast, and they put out 7-mile-long nylon nets. And for 7 miles, they scoop up everything that those nets can bring in. And they haul up such enormous numbers of fish, your mind could not conceive of it. And then we end up fighting over dams and streams, and boy, you got to have some riparian buffers here, and there's a few sea lions eating the fish. I mean, we are arguing over the crumbs while the international fishing community is literally scooping up these fish. And until we do something about that, what we're doing here is just silly.
Well, and we have rivers like the Nehalem and the Trask, that Nestucca, and different ones that have no dams on them whatsoever, and they have some of the impacts that you were mentioning. But I mean, it's a problem out in the ocean.
Yep.
More than virtually any place else. And granted, a huge dam on the Columbia is hard for them to navigate, but to pretend you can solve it by planting a few more trees next to the stream, it's just not going to happen.
We're going to have to continue this topic next time. I'd like to bring up that